Good morning. Welcome to Equity Story Trade Watch for Tuesday. And really, again, by myself, of course, I'm going to be here for the whole week. And we're just going to quickly discuss what's happening around the globe, how the markets are looking, where we're heading in this week, any stocks, and possible trade for the long termers that I've been looking at. Anyway, let's start with the disclaimer first. And remember, just have a quick look through it. It's right in front of you. Every stock we talk about, it's all about the technicals and fundamentals of the story. Nothing personal has been discussed. Close that off and let's move on to what's been happening overnight. So Dow Jones, Nasdaq, all down. It's obviously a continuation. We talked about it Monday, status quo, nothing's really changing. We are expecting a volatile week. We're getting one. And it's always, of course, to do mostly with Ukraine and Russia. And that's really nothing's been, in my mind or what I've been reading, it's changing. It's still, a conflict that's going to probably be drawn out for some time. We can't see any end to it anytime soon. So as a result, we have to be cautious. We have to obviously sit back and just pretty much watch the market and see where it takes us from here. Other news this morning, looking at through China, there's obviously talk that if China gets involved with Russia, there's going to be more sanctions. So it's just a big mess at the moment. So it's not an easy place to really trade, invest, and see, pretty much make money. So we're in a situation where it's more about preservation of money, looking at stories, putting those stories on a watch list, and hopefully with time, we'll see the signal and we'll push the buy button on a few. I know yesterday we had Elders. It is really a really great story by the looks of things with a big upgrade yesterday. Just having a look actually, and I'll quickly flicker through to what the actual FNRN is saying, because yesterday they've obviously come out with it. We want to see what the big brokers are saying, whether they're happy or not, and it's just interesting just to see another big broker's opinion where they think it stands. So where am I? Here we go, and I think we're going to go right here, and I'm going to go to FNRN, as you can see, and here we go. We've got Elders as a buy, and you've got a price target of 1460. So from that, they're pretty much bullish. So that's all I wanted to show you, is that they've actually outperformed what the expectations were. So that's why there was a trade yesterday. We're looking at possible 6 to 12 month trade, and hence, you had an opportunity yesterday to have a look. If you're still interested, I suppose it's still going to be okay. All right, so heading back to Nasdaq and Dow, they were actually down fairly heavily yesterday, but I think the key point is here, they're still falling down. So if I go back to the actual index, and I've got the Nasdaq right here, you can see the reasons why we're not interested in actual tech stocks. For the moment, it's just a space that is just unloved and unwanted. So while we are looking actively to find those interesting stories that we can possibly buy for the next, say, 5 years, because I think we have to have that long-term outlook. Right now, it's not the time to jump into some of these things. Put it on a watch list, like I suggested a little bit earlier. Identify those really good stories and be ready, pretty much. It's my sort of call to arms. As you can see yesterday, again, I look through the big ones, the FANG stocks, our favorite little team. It's all still heading downwards for the moment, and there is just no end in sight right now, so we're not in a rush, so just be careful with that. As you can see, that is I think they call it a bear market now in Nasdaq, which is probably a very difficult time to make any money on it whatsoever. So moving right along to commodities, because of course the war stocks are part of the commodity space. There has been, I think, our market today, if I'm just going to have a quick look, and I'm going to put in the XJO just to see where we're at, and where are we? XJO right there. All right, so we've got pretty much going sideways to down, really, when you look at it. Nothing's really happening for us. it's lucky for us, we do have a fairly heavy index based on materials. It has actually definitely helped us, because we'd probably be looking like the Dow Jones and the Nasdaq heading down. But actually, we're actually not too bad. I know we're below trend lines, which doesn't give you too much confidence to trade confidently. So for me, again, we're just looking at specific sectors. The two sectors we'll be looking at is agriculture and commodities. I know we had not had a great start to the commodities space this week, but that's okay. They're still pretty much holding trend, most of them. So there's some profit taking, and really, I just can't see any change for the time being. The sanctions are still on, the bans are still on, and from my point of view, I just can't see too much happening in the commodities. In other words, a collapse at this moment. I know that nickel's coming back, because remember, Wednesday we talked about the nickel has been suspended. The nickel LME has been suspended. It's coming back on Wednesday, so that's tomorrow. So that could potentially spur a few more volatility in this space. So just be careful with any trades you might have on nickel and others, because of course, it is not going to be easy to navigate through some of the volatility that we might potentially encounter this week, especially on nickel, when they open up the actual exchange. Look, a problem with commodities. Actually, let's have a look at the commodities, what they looked at. I think we had, if I remember correctly, we had, whoops, where's my little cursor? We've had oil and gas drop down further to getting close to 100 now. And, it's, of course, affecting some of the stocks. And it looks fairly, maybe, I don't know, weak this week. But like I said, it shouldn't be too worried at the moment. I think we're still good overall on a longer term basis. So if I just go back to, let me see where I'm at, commodity. So we've got here, if you go by the top, we've got crude, as you can see, pretty red. So we've got crude oil, Brent, natural gas, all down heavily, down to about 100, like you said, crude, which means, for the week, we haven't had a great start, but for the month, it's still up. So like I said, type stop losses, most of the trends are still going to be okay. Just be careful if they do go below your stops. Technically, you got to get out. You got to follow a process. You got to follow a strategy in a way. If you look at uranium, that's slightly down. That's okay. We've been following that, been actually good quite well this week, and it's up 17%. So that's not too bad. Gold's also been a little bit weaker, 1953. It's still in an uptrend. It has had a bit of a pullback, but still an uptrend. So that's not too bad. I'm still okay with that. Platinum a bit more volatile, as you can see, down 4% for the week. Sorry, 8% down for the week. Percentage day down for the day is 4%. So that's going to be fairly volatile. And you can see, the reason why we've got profit taking on the commodity side of things, on BHPs and Rios and so on. You've got silver, copper down, still slightly down, and you're probably going to see the others as well. So if I just go back down to leads, down slightly, aluminium down slightly. Of course, nickel, remember, was going to be opened up. Tin and zinc is the only one that's sort of has got its head above the water, but for the week, it's actually down as well. But I expect that nickel, that 62% or 63% weekly, that's going to probably moderate, I'd say. So like I said, just be careful of that. Nickel's coming back. All right, let's have a look at some of the stocks that actually reported this morning, and I'll have a look at the charts, and I'll introduce you to a new story. So going back to the charts, and we've got EM2 come up with more drilling results. Again, all pretty good. Copper's doing still okay. Results are, flying in from EM2 are still very, very good. They've still got about 50 something holes to go, I think they said on the announcement. So nothing wrong there. It's just a process they have to go through. Drilling, then probably some studies, and they're probably going to have, some sort of a mine in development, I'd say. So that's all moving along. Another one was MK. So let me just have a look at, let's have a put in this EM2, just have a look at the charts. And I think it's still, let me have a look if it's still holding. Yeah, it's, look, obviously technically probably been trading it, but if you are in this for a long term, if you're still in this, your last line of defense is this line right there, right? So that's what you'd be looking at right there. If it goes below, let's have a look, 54, 53 maybe, you probably want to have a look at, an extra trade. You got to have extra trade for every single thing you're in. But anyway, that's not too bad. It's still holding reasonably well for the long termers out there. Let's have a look at the next one, which was MKL, the little gaming stock. And they had a little announcement today. Like I said, unfortunately, from my point of view, I definitely prefer a PLY. This is trending below trend line. So for us, we're definitely not in it, not trading it, not in it at this stage. We want to see it about 17, probably 16, 17, 18 cents even before we start looking at it, especially in this tough market. You don't want to be jumping to things that are actually just trying to swim against the tide. But, nice little announcement extending its collaboration with Mattel, I believe. So that's not too bad. And again, so I'm just looking at PLY, just a comparison. You can see why we prefer this one. It's delivered quite nice gains for us. It's still holding the trend at 90 cents. But again, remember, it's holding that trend, that pretty aggressive trend, which is the red line. If it falls below that, if you're a trader, you're out. If you're long-term, you probably want to stick that at 75 cents. So anything below that, you're out. And the next one is OCL, another one that released a small announcement today, talking about acquisition in North America. It is actually quite small. I think it was about $5 million. And it's going to deliver some revenues and a little bit of profitability. It's not huge. It's expensive, the actual stock itself. But you know what? It's actually holding pretty well. I mean, it has come back from the 20s. It's hit that 15. Looks like that 15 is some sort of kind of imaginary support. So maybe that's for the long termers out there. If you're still in this, that's something to hold on as your last line of defense. Other than that, it's still a great story, but it's undergoing a re-rating. But it's still nicely holding on to that $15, $16 mark, which is nice to see. Now, I want to quickly introduce you to a new story, and that is Matter Group, MAD. I'm looking the chart. So first of all, if you look at the actual story, you got to like two things about the story. You got to look at technicals and fundamentals. So technicals obviously ticks the box for me because it's above trend. So I wouldn't be talking something if it was below, unless it's something extraordinary. But in this case, it's actually looking very, very good. Now, the reason why I want to have a look at this one, it is in the right space. So we've got commodities which are going very, very well. So that space is obviously in a bull market at the moment. And it might be in a bull market for some time, but looks of things. So, we normally look at some companies in that space, the commodity space, but we also like to look at the picks and shovel type companies, right? In this case, we're looking at another form of it. We're looking at the picks and shovel maintenance space. So they're actually fixing up their picks and shovels or maintaining their picks and shovels, which is an probably even safer way of doing things, right? So lesser risk for me. Looking at the company now, they've been trading for a little bit of time. I'm much more comfortable with the story. They've released a report or two now that now I'm really comfortable with where the direction they are heading. They've got a founder-led business. It's not too expensive. Looking at the numbers, I think it's about just 19 or 20 times, which is not bad for the growth they're having. And the growth is around, I think you're looking at about 30% odd. Margins increasing, moving into North America, moving into other regions. It is a very well-led business, and most of it has been done organically. So from my point of view, I'm really liking this story. I know I've just said at the beginning, I'm looking at, and I'm sitting back and I'm really not doing much apart from it, but sometimes a story will come across my desk, which catches my attention, which I have to do a little bit more investigations in. And this is one of those stories that looks very, very, very good on a long-term basis. So if you are looking for something, right, something to potentially park some money in, you've got a stop around at 218. And like I said, normally I'd say, maybe hold off, but I like this chart. So you've got a nice tight stop. Say, let me have a look. I'll probably call it below 210. So 209, you're buying it at below 250. Now you're going to take it to say 280, 290. And they also had an upgrade as well recently. So, you've got a lot of boxes ticked here. That's why I'm very comfortable with this trade. If it doesn't work out, that's okay. we're not going to lose too much. Like I said, 209, we're looking at 280, 290, even $3 over the medium to short term. So probably 6 to 12 months to start off with. And like I said, it is servicing the picks and shovel of the commodity space, which is exactly what I'm supposedly, if I'm going to go the safest route possible, this is what I'm going to go for. So that looks pretty good for me. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. We've got our Ask the Analyst tonight. So please join me. I'll be by myself. So keep me company. Otherwise, I'll be talking to myself. But have a good day. Don't stress out too much. Of course, we don't like what we see what's happening over in Ukraine. Hopefully, it will end soon. But I'll speak to you again tonight. So thanks, guys.